call.
Commissioner Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Norwood,
Here.
Commissioner Siragusa,
Here.
Commissioner Roberts. Here. Commissioner Stallings.
Here.
Commissioner Orr,
Here.
and Mayor Pinkerton.
Here. Item 3, minutes. Item 3.1, consider approval of minutes of the regular commission meeting. To item 2, invocation tonight will be by Pastor Bruce Jackson, Johnson, and the flag salute.
Season of Advent. And if you were at church on Sunday, we lit our candle of peace. Father, thank you for the opportunity to come together to do the work of governing. Clarity of thought tonight, we pray. Lord, and sometimes it is words that we wish we'd never said. And sometimes it's an attitude that is not Christ. Help us as a community to be an example of what it means not to avoid conflict, but to approach it as peacemakers. Oh God, help us to be peacemakers and help us to be united.
You all go with me as we speak our.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. None, cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item number 4, awards, present.
No. So this is Tinsel. Tinsel is estimated to be about 6 months old and a healer mix. I picked him up. He's a big baby when it comes to car rides, but as long as he's close to you, he's all right. He's a little hefty. That's the only way he'll listen. But he's a typical puppy, so he would need some training. He does really well. And we are doing free adoptions for the remainder of the year. Just so
Colonel Johnson and Vance Air Force Base for volunteering on the Day of Kindness cleanup in Southern Heights edition. Colonel, if you join.
Okay, if you follow what goes on in city government, you hear all the time about the things that we do. There's all one. There's like North Enid, then there's Enid started pinning wings on pilots in 1941, which was what? Air Force. So that's just do a little cleanup in the neighborhood. That's the kind of neighbors that we like to have. So I'd like to read a proclamation, this time recognizing that. Wanted to give back to the local, whereas act of kindnesses like Friday's cleanup event in Southern Heights are important every day of the who had another 30 volunteers out there. Volunteers for your community service on November 19th. So I'd like to present this to the Colonel.
To be able to recognize Vance Air Force Base, and it was amazing to have, which is Commissioner Rob Stallings' ward and Oklahoma College, to come out and donate and help clean some housing and garages and things like that. You know, it was great just to have community and see the baseball team come out and help us. And it's something that Dan Scheidel from United Way, for the last 3 years, he's called me and asked if I would help, and I enjoy it. You know, I'm a city commissioner, not of just only Ward 2, but I'm a city commissioner.
Colonel Johnson, thank you so much for this. I'm relatively new to the area, but I tell you what,
All right.
A picture, yes.
All right.
And Laura actually likely to see Laura because she sits on the front lines every day. So, Laura, if you're out there watching, congratulations. I will see you later this week and make sure that I thank her and give her her plaque. So, outstanding employee. Thank you.
All righty. All right. Congratulations, Laura. Item 4.4, consider appointing Captain Gary. All right. Item 5 is public comments. So there's a lot of up to talk. So we're going to strictly enforce the 3-minute rule on how long you can talk. So I'd like you to announce when there's 30 seconds left. So at the 2-minute, 30-second point, announce. And then at 3 minutes, we will ask the person to have a seat and move on to the next person so everybody gets a chance to speak. Okay, let me read something. I thought about this quite a bit that does not appear on this meeting's agenda. So you may talk for the a lot of staff anytime you want to if you have any concerns. So that door is always open. But the point is, we can't engage in meaningful, signed up to speak will be heard. Everyone can speak for up to 3 minutes. You cannot yield your time to another speaker. You cannot have multiple people come forward and one person talk for 3 minutes for each person that came forward. Each person gets 3. You may be advised when you have 30 seconds left to speak, as we just discussed, and asked to take your seat when 3 minutes has expired. I appreciate your comments and ask your cooperation. So, sir?
Yeah, I mean, hi, Jenny. We had a great the One celebration, and it was a big parade, and there were people everywhere, thousands and thousands of people, and the City of Enid works. And then this past weekend on Saturday, the City of Enid staff went out to Meadow Lake Park, and there were thousands of people there to see Santa Claus and all kinds of wonderful. All of this is free in Enid, the place where everybody says there's never.
First speaker tonight is Susan Shuey.
Good evening. My name is Susan Shuey, and I have worked at the Enid Public Library as the children's librarian since August of last year. After last month's library board meeting, I watched a YouTube video podcast hosted by Heidi St. John. The title of the podcast was Strategies for Protecting the Innocence of Children in Public Libraries. The guest was an Enid resident who is a member of the Enid Freedom Fighters. Now, my aim isn't to attack or ambush this individual. My aim is to bring to light 2 serious concerns. These are 2 direct quotes from the It's a Fair Question. And since the library board members are appointed by this city council, we realized we needed to rewrite library policy, end quote. What? The secretive writing of public library policy by unidentified people from a group with its own political or religious agendas raises all sorts of red flags for me, and it should for dissolving the current library board and starting over. The library belongs to the community. If we want to be a community that lives out the ideals of our democracy, of liberal ideas, what I want to see and what the citizens of Enid deserve is a library board that members. I will close with a quote from a theologian my husband Brian and I read and listen to often. The best critique of the bad is the practice of the better. The past several months have had a lot of ugliness and a lot of bad. It reflects
use of Discord via library programs. These chat rooms were created as secret and by invitation only. The day before the library board meeting, another family disclosed about their team in the same chat room. Both teens verified that the chat should not be shared with parents. I asked the city manager to reconsider Terry Ray's position as library director. This use of social media created by Terry Ray shows poor judgment on her part. These chat rooms are simply inappropriate for library use. Library director position and possibly gain a wonderful mentor for Terry Ray. I can go on and praise Terry so much. Her library reports are absolutely incredible. She is an incredible asset to the library. I want Terry Ray to stay, but she is not fit for the library director position. On a second topic, one of them. His arms, rods of gold, studded with gems, his loins, smoothest ivory, and his sweet, and all of him desirable. This is my love. This is my mate. 2, adult nonfiction. They're not appropriate for children, and in the adult section, parents will decide when. I willingly oblige. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Just a
minute.
Yeah.
Mayor, City Council, it's a pleasure to speak with you this evening. Terry is a fantastic city librarian. She has a post office where I work, of librarian director that we need. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I also want to speak about reading specific books or attending particular programs. We should be striving to maintain access to a wide variety of viewpoints. We should never seek to censor. must protect freedom of speech and freedom of religion. Finally, I would ask that you remember that as an elected official, you now represent everyone, not just the people who voted for you. You are charged with making Enid a vibrant city. Any attempts to silence beliefs or viewpoints are not appropriate in public office. Please do everything in your power to make Enid a safe place for all of its residents. History is never kind to those who silence those with differing viewpoints. From the Salem witch hunt to the McCarthy trials, we should learn to accept and work with our neighbors rather than constantly accusing them. I urge you to land on the right side of history.
Okay. Christy Balden.
This is not made for short people.
No, it's not.
Force information, books, or activities on anyone. Our library simply provides on micromanaging the library staff and this city council. All in censoring people is not freedom. Additionally, if Enid parents don't know what their kids are doing, that is a parent. If this city council or the library board or any of the staff engage in censorship or infringement of the First Amendment in any kind, we will fight.
Nancy Presnell. Did I pronounce that wrong? Oh.
I do not really have a prepared statement, I have to say. Thank you.
I felt called to come here once again. It's been about a year ago since I was here for very similar reasoning. I think that what's going on with the library is unacceptable. I believe Enid is better than this. We should stand together and support all of the people that come to the library, not just a select few, not just the ones that we find are acceptable, whether that's religiously, personally, socially, however. Everyone programming, the books available, the staff should be welcoming of all people who enter that library. What appears to be going on now for quite some time is an attempt to push LGBTQ people out. And while you may think those people don't meet your standards, you're okay with that. It's not okay. You're worried about teaching children, having access to LGBT information, to know that these different people exist. But really what you're teaching them is a lack of kindness, a lack of willingness to accept other people and go become Chinese or want to move to China. She was just learning about a different culture, people different than herself. And I feel like that's the whole purpose of a library, is to educate, to have the freedom to choose what we want to learn about. And children deserve to have some right in that as well. They should not be censored so much that they're only learning one thing. And for example, if they're told there's no place for them, and when that happens to children in the LGBT community, the rates of everyone should be able to be at the library. But right now, the library is being, or I should say the board, I feel like, is being pushed to make that not the situation, where there's only and what should not. And she is choosing things that go for all of the community, not just a select few.
Just bring you this wireless mic.
I'm Cindy Stevenson. LGBT plus representing policies that target LGBT people. When I was in junior high at Longfellow, I've been my whole 1 through 12, I was here in Enid for an education and graduated from Enid High. But when I was in Longfellow Junior High, Wifey by Judy Blume was the book to read, and it had sexual content in it. It was about a woman and her sexual awakening while her kids were away at camp. I don't remember the date, but it was 79 or 80. But I do remember the book The pages were worn and weathered because I wasn't the only student that was reading it. I looked to see who else had checked the book out. I had to read it in secret because my parents were super religious. They never discussed any sexual content in our house. And I needed to know, my body needed to know what to expect. If the Bible's not for children, why is it talked about and instructed in every Sunday school class in this county? There's incest, rape, killing, war, and a lot of sexual content. My first experience in the 1980s, I read Ruby Fruit, Jungle. It was the first novel by Rita Mae Brown. It was published in 1973. It was a remarkable book for me because it was my first lesson in lesbianism. I read it at the Enid Public Library. I heard about relationships that were same-sex gender, but nobody I knew talked about them. But I was having some feelings and emotions, and I didn't understand why I was. It helped me to know that I was not alone. Let's talk about what it means to censor LGBT people. It's rejection. That's what it is. You reject them. You can't say, I love you, but...
You got 30 seconds.
And mean that. I'm saying that if you censor these young children and just say, well, we can't have any books like that in the library for children, then what I'm saying is there's going to be a cost. And the cost are going to be the lives of the children in Enid, Oklahoma. I've read and checked out books, and I'm happy to say that I am proud of Terry and the people at the library. This library has meant so much to me as a kid, as a teenager, and now as an adult.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, thank you for being our ward commissioner, and Martin Raleigh. He's been a real good communicator to us, and everything, and then Don Doral. Choosing J and B, I saw that you're going to be voting on. A and John, those are good men, and all their workers are, at the end of the day, when they're wore out, they take track. And Bert McClare and Calvin McClare and Stephen Galebeck, and then Stan's asphalt as good as he does, and then hauls it off. Encourage anybody just to come down our streets. Our streets were dirty looking. They came in there and they fixed our streets. It's a clean neighborhood. It's we have sidewalks on both sides, and so just wanted to come and tell you guys thank you publicly and appreciate all that you do. And the east side is being taken care of. It really is. Projects going on all over the place there, and I just want to take this time to thank you all and all who.
I really appreciate you. I know we can all agree on good, I don't even know how long, but a long time. Thank you.
Yeah, your remarks are very kind and very appreciated. Worthwhile as we have people once in a while that come up to us, and it might be here, and it might be on the street, and it might be in a... Hi.
I want to encourage you to consider the damage that the current library board is doing. The witch hunt they have initiated seat at the table. It is also unfortunate that I have to continue to compose emails and show up to board meetings to ensure that my children are given the same space to exist as others. I understand these people have their own beliefs. I also understand that not everyone believes the same. One religion should not be allowed to rule any government entity. Please remember that the LGBTQ population are human beings just as you are, deserve to be seen and heard just as you are. Please remember something is wrong with you. If we do not create and cultivate safe spaces for our children to exist, we will lose them. Thank you.
Cindy Felber.
Hello, I want to thank you. I also want to thank any library staff that's here tonight. I've never once felt unsafe. I've always felt I would read them before they did, or along with them, and discuss anything that might come up, because we can't, freedoms taken from them of being able to check out any book their parent approves. And again, I want to.
Katrina Sundvall?
Thank you for allowing us to speak. ICQ shooting, 5 lives lost, 17 injured. New York City has a serial killer on the loose that is targeting gay people. Moore County in North Carolina, 45,000 people are without electricity in the window because they wanted to have a LGBT activity. Midwest City this summer, a woman, LGBTQ youth. What does it say to our ally youth? That there is something wrong with, was an amazing step. But it's not, was grooming and being a predator towards youth. It's recorded, you can see it for yourself. Just for asking someone their preferred pronouns, that's not grooming. Unless somebody says before, that's dangerous to those people that have been groomed. It doesn't feel that way anymore. I fear for my safety for the first time in 25 years. I fear for my safety when I walk out my door every day now. Be themselves. The library should always be one of those safe places. We ask for peace and inclusion.
Matt Nichols?
Hi, my name is Matt Nichols. Okay.
No, we're not doing PowerPoint slides, videos, presentations.
Okay.
You're providing remarks to the panel.
Well, by George M. Johnson. There stood in front of me fully erect and said, I was having sexual intercourse with a guy, but that you were family. Only did that for guys. That's when you began oral sex on me as well. It was the strangest feeling in the world. Unfortunately, I didn't have a handbook to learn sexuality as a queer boy. My crash course was happening right in front of me, and despite the guilt I was feeling, there was also a euphoria. Things happening to me that I couldn't explain. Feelings and motions that I had not known existed. After a minute or so, you stopped. Then you laid me on the ground and got on top of me and began. Of the book is graphic. It has graphic sexual content. I ask that this be the position of library director. Thank you.
I would like to outline my interactions with Gerald Gilbert over the last 18 months. On June 29, 2021, I contacted Mr. Gilbert to express concerns that Terry Ray, as teen librarian, was displaying books of a sexual nature in areas frequented by minor children. For 4 months, Aaron Crawford, CFO, proposed in the material by our community. They voted to recommend, advocated for this book being in the teen section and why it was good for teens to read. 6 days later, Ray was the one under consideration and emailed Gerald with my concerns, including a lengthy excerpt of the sexually explicit nature of All Boys Aren't Blue and a link to Oklahoma titled Library Director against the board's recommendations. During the November 16th board meeting 2 weeks ago, I read an anonymous statement that these chat rooms were private and moderated by herself and other library personnel, and that parental consent was library director at Gerald's direction provided, quote. In yesterday's press release, the city admitted that library personnel conducted, and I quote here, online disciplinary matters. 18 months of interactions with Mr. Gilbert have revealed a pattern of gross incompetence which has both harmed children and put our city at risk of litigation. I ask that this board exercise its right under Section D-112 of the city charter and remove him as city manager. Thank you.
Fern Boyle?
The children's section of the library should be G-rated. I don't think that's asking too much. I believe all sexually explicit material should be removed from the children's section. For clarity, I divide explicit material in the children's section of the library are trying to make this presented for our children. I would no more want my children to be reading about heterosexuality in graphic detail than any other kind. I don't want them to read any of that, and I don't think that those should be available for our children. Where are we going to draw the line? Right now, we're talking about books. What's going to happen next? Are we going to have audiobooks? Are we going to have videos? At what point are you going to say there is too much? them to sexually explicit material. Furthermore, if this content is allowed at the public library, then you're essentially telling those of us who have Christian values that we are no longer welcome. It was mentioned more than once that if parents don't want their children reading this material, then they need to read every single book on the shelf before my child can look at it. Yeah, I can flip through the book, but what if that explicit content, it shouldn't be in the children's section of the library? And furthermore, what I've heard, parents can no longer trust that their kids can go into the library without them standing beside them, can go to the library and enjoy reading books.
City Council, my name is Derek Tinius. Thank you for an audience, and I respect the weight of your responsibility, and I appreciate I plan to reiterate part of what I said in my first brief message to the library board, the city manager, Gerald Gilbert, and interim library director at that time, Terry Ray, on April the 11th, 2022. I expressly warned against circumventing immoral, and such people should have no place. Indoctrinating children in secrecy and in opposition to the parents' desires should be immediate grounds for dismissal. I question Ms. Ray's ability to carry out this duty objectively. I am that she is willing to circumvent parents by using unapproved mediums of communication material on social media on behalf of the public library and the city of Enid, calling such filth, especially when a parent or guardian is not given the opportunity to walk their child through the entire process and follow up with proper care. This is very poor judgment. Subjecting children to material that is beyond their ability to comprehend, to protect their children by having a safe place for them to be respected and for them to learn. I have worked as standard involves no physical contact, never to be alone with the child, no inappropriate conversations,
30 seconds.
Avoiding certain topics, including politics with other people. Why can we be held to such standards, but a librarian is not? Certain facts have already been revealed.
Hello, my name is Marcia Nichols. Well before Ms. Ray was promoted to the position of library director. Lacey wrote, I am a mother who over the years have put many concerns in the suggestion box regarding material in the youth section of the library until I contacted Mr. Gilbert directly last August, at which point I was finally listened to, allowed to provide details regarding a few specific books I was concerned about, and those books were in fact pulled and moved to the adult section of their heads. Lacey goes on to state, we need to research and the National Library of Medicine detail the extreme epidemic of STDs, depression. This is when they had such a push in the public schools and libraries promoting sex, heavy material. I know what a difficult job you have, and it is my understanding that filling the library director job in particular has been difficult. But I urge you to wait for the available upon request. Thank you.
Leanne Clinton?
Good evening. I would like to bring the council's attention to the title of the book is The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, written by to Gerald's attention at a city council meeting this past summer, and expressed that I was very disturbed by the fact that an adult would seek out minor children book and did find that it has several sexual situations and should not be in the youth section of the library, and it definitely should not be part of a teen book discussion led by an adult librarian. I encourage you to read this book and decide for yourself if you would want an adult reading this book to your children or grandchildren. I'm not sure what's more disturbing, that our librarian would host such a group or that our city manager would hire her knowing full well she was completely lacking in discernment. I'm concerned that if this is acceptable to our city manager, what does he find unacceptable for children? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I want to bring your attention to several points from the recent Library Board meeting, the P+ online group. I notified the city about this group's existence in April of 2021 and the startling fact that parental permission was not required to join, a fact confirmed by Ms. Ray. I followed up with EPS about the use of their technology for this purpose. EPS quickly responded and frankly seemed as surprised as the rest of us at how the library employees chose to use the Google Classroom. It has now been archived by EPS. Second, a mother contacted Mr. Gilbert in April of this year after a negative experience with Ms. Ray asking her son what his pronouns were. In the meeting, Ms. Ray said that it was her bill, or maybe at the code department when homeowners are scheduling inspections. Of course, I know the answer to this. In any other department, it would be considered unprofessional and tolerated by our city manager. Finally, after learning that Ms. Ray had created private by invitation-only chats for youth on the app Discord, Mr. Gilbert's response to the library board's motion to suspend social media accounts was jarring to most parents and grandparents watching. Though he agreed with the board's advice, Commissioners, Ms. Ray violated existing library policy on social media by creating these private chats. She likely violated the Oklahoma Parents' Bill of Rights, which bans public employees from infringing on the. This city commission's primary role is to give oversight to our municipal government. You have no direct power for individual city employees, but you are responsible for the hiring of the city manager and the city attorney. You are accountable for their actions because you hired them to do a job. Mr. Gilbert categorized the actions of Ms. Ray as pushing independence of thought and inclusivity. This is a terrifying misjudgment of the seriousness of the problems at the library and ensure our municipal government is working in the best interest of our children. As parents and voters in Enid, we will not tolerate the sexualization.
Margot Holmes?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for letting me be coordinator for Adult Services. I believe that the library should be a safe space for everyone, regardless of age, ethnic, or gender identity. I also believe in the right to read. Now, part of being a safe space requires that parents parent their children, but they should not parent other people's children. To library staff and try to have the issue solved rather than pounding the table and going on personal attacks on. Clear communication can only happen with trust. Trust comes from sitting down and learning have been rejected. If someone has a concern, I hope that they would approach the library out. It was a book about a difficult topic. He called Terry Ray, who was at that time deputy director, to discuss it. From that conversation came a solution. We now have a section in the youth area, up high in a discreet location, that contains children's books on tough topics. Who believe that the library and the American Library Association is made up of nasty child grooming wackadoos, their words, not mine, is a time when a parent came to the library with their children, young books. She objected to some of the books that she saw on the shelf that dealt with LGBT, or rearranged the area so the young adult nonfiction was not next to the self-check station. City Commission, you will ask them why they want to be on the board, what they hope to accomplish.
Tammy Long?
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is mailed several times with my concerns about the sexually explicit books which were bought for children and placed in our public library. I, like many others, was shocked that this was occurring. Concerned individuals who have taken in the Enid News and Eagle dated November 30th, the library board members were. These are the most amazing individuals who are fighting to protect the heart's paragraph in the same editorial encourages residents to pay careful attention to incumbents and challengers who are running in the next city election of adversity to protect our children. Thank you.
This is not an issue that we can talk back and forth on, so I'm not looking for any commissioners or anybody to get involved or try to, because of the decorum that you showed tonight. Everybody had a chance to say. Okay, cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. I'm going to wait just a moment in case others would like to exit. If you want to leave, we'll take a short break here. If you want to stay, that's fine too.
It wasn't that they were targeted, they were just saying, I know from the trustee. No. Oh, I think it'll probably be okay. He's up there, but if you want me to, I can go out. Well, you've got another office over here, but I am just guessing that that's what they're saying.
Okay. Item number 9, the Enid Municipal Hale DPF Python refuse truck.
2% for 36 months with no balloon payment on that.
And the November 1st, 2022 award for the purchase of 4. Cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item 9.3, approval of claims and fees of the Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item 12, the Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting is now in session. 7-0. Thank you. Item 13, adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Item 4.1, consider convening into executive session at the recommendation of the city attorney pursuant to 25 OS 306. Disclosure of the matters discussed would interfere with the development of the proposals and impair the ability of session. All in favor, please cast your ballots.
Mayor, I wanted to mention that Dana Watkins, who's been with the city for a number of years, the IT department, he makes us look good on TV and all that. This is his last public meeting, and he's
a little chilly. All right, all right. Okay, let's reconvene upstairs at 8 o'clock. You got about 12 minutes to take a break if you need to.